All right. I don't know exactly how, but Martin Strand and I got interested in trying to make a longer stroke on a pumper. Heard about Steve White had made a pumper, and he gave it to Jeff Edwards. So we went over to Jeff Edwards one day, and we took some pictures of it and decided maybe we ought to see if we could make one of these rascals. This is the actual pumper that Steve had made. If you notice, right there, that is a bearing that's riding against the index wheel. Okay, talking with David Lindahl later on, he said that index wheel has at least a 10,000 run out on it. Okay, that's not a lot, but it does make a difference. This is the pumper arm that Steve had made. So we decided to try something different at David's suggestion. He said that maybe it'd be better if you actually pumped on the end of the shaft rather than on the wheel. So a fellow turner named Pete Holmes made this pumper, and it rides on, this sits here on top of the headstock on a Lindahl White machine, and there's a rubber that goes down in there, and it hits on a rosette that's installed on the shaft. This was Pete's idea. Well, this is on the top. David suggested maybe I try it on the bottom. So this is mine that's riding on the top, and it did work, but it does have some problems because I did not use a bearing. I used just a piece of nylon to rub against the wheel. I took David's suggestion and I said, hey, I'm going to try this here and do it on the bottom. So this was my first try with plywood, and I was so amazed it really worked. I called Martin, and Martin came over and he said, wow, that's something, isn't it? So this was in January, and I was getting ready to go to South Texas on vacation. When I got back, lo and behold, Martin had made one to fit on the bottom, and it worked. It's been modified somewhat since then, but it did work. And if you notice right there, Martin made a rubber that the top of it flexes up against the rosette. So it stays flat against the rosette at all times, rather than as the rosette rocks back and forth, it's just riding on one edge or the other. This is the frame that Martin made to hold everything. This is the rocker arm, and you'll notice there's a series of holes right there. Well, those holes there gives you an opportunity to change your amplitude just a little bit, not a lot, just some. I think we've decided that maybe you don't really need them, but at the time it seemed like a good idea. This is mine. This is the way I did it. If you notice there, I've got a roller bearing to ride up against the rosette, and it does make it ride a little bit smoother because you have less friction. This is something I came up with. This is I call it my indexer arm. And I'll show you what that does for you in just a second. This here is a rosette that I had a friend make for me. He had a CNC router machine, and I told him what I wanted. I wanted a rosette that had 24 bumps on it, which is very similar to one of the Lindahl White rosettes. And he made it after about the third try. He finally got it, and it really works pretty well. It's half-inch plastic of some sort, but it gives you a wider surface, so when this is rocking back and forth, that bearing moves quite a ways from one side to the other. And I don't know that you could do that with a 1/4-inch plexiglass. I think it wouldn't be wide enough. This is the frame I made, and there's the holes I drilled into and tapped for the bracket. This is the pumper arm again with the different holes for the different amplitudes. If you notice, they're both made a little bit different because we had a little different idea how to go about it. This is my bracket that I made, and this is simply a hardware store spring. This is the very first box I made, and I did several experimenting, trying to figure out, I've got this machine, what am I going to do with it? And I finally came up with, I could actually do a basket weave on an oval-sized box. And this was my goal, as I've not seen too many people decorate the side of an oval box. You can make an oval box and do all kinds of things with it, but putting a decoration on it's a little bit complicated. I tried about 6 or 7 different things, and none of them come out very good. I could do this, or I could make a squiggly line, and make parallel squiggly lines. That was kind of neat in a way, but I really like the basket weave. Okay, this again shows the flexible head rubber down here to stay in contact with the rosette. This is on Martin's machine. This is the flexible rubber. It uses a shoulder screw that goes down in there that allows that there head to flex. Just another view of the same thing. This is Martin's first piece. It's different, but that's what he proved you could do with it. You can see such a long, graceful line there. Okay, I talked with Steve White some more, and this is Steve White's iteration of how to do this. He put his up on top, but it's quite an apparatus, but it does work. And this turned out to be a collaboration of a lot of people's different ideas that we put together in different ways, but it does the same thing. It allows you to have that much longer stroke on your pumper. And it was a fun thing to do, and this was spread out over a period of about a year. I think we started last year about this time. And I think that's the end. Any questions?
And tell them you use any rosette basically with that.
Yeah, yes, you can use most of our rosettes. The only thing it does make a little difference is because your arm is moving so much, it will almost go off the bearing, or the rubber will go off almost off the side of the rosette. That's the only problem, because the arm is moving so much. But it works. And a roller bearing really helps a lot because you reduce a lot of friction. Thank you very much. Yes. What? Oh, you could get almost 3/8 of an inch. And that's, on the Lindau White, that's about as much room as you've got between the barrel and the bearing holders there. Thank you.